Good evening. On the night, Arsenal have drawn 1-1 with Manchester United at Old Trafford. I'm going to try and not fall into all the traps of the cliches that exist around this fixture these days, how it's not quite what it was in the late 90s or early noughties, how it's not what it was under Arsene Wenger or Sir Alex Ferguson, because the truth is it hasn't been that for some time. It's nothing new to say that these sides have fallen from grace. And what we saw tonight was just further confirmation of that fact, really. A game with a real paucity of quality. I think it was 29 minutes before we saw the first shot in the game. At least we're managing to get the shot tallies down from a given fixture. But in the last 20 minutes or so, once Arsenal equalised, it really did feel like this game could go either way. That it was potentially there to be won by either side. And the truth is, neither side had the confidence or the quality to push on and do that. And I think that will be really frustrating for a lot of Arsenal fans, because going into this game I saw a lot of people saying this is a game Unai Emery should be winning and probably needs to win in order to win back some of the fan support he's lost in the early portion of this season and the last period of last season. But watching the match play out as it did, I do understand why this finished with a draw, and I almost can understand some of the more conservative substitutions that Unai Emery made after he brought Ceballos on. He brought on Willock and Nelson on the flanks for a bit of energy and work rate, and I can see why, because this is an Arsenal team that just don't really have the platform of confidence to go on and push to win a game at Old Trafford away from home. And I know, look, going away from home in the modern game is not as distinct a thing as it used to be, but there are differences. There are advantages for a home side. I think we saw that in some of the officiating tonight, to be frank with you. Some of the bookings that United players got away with. Arsenal players too. I mean, the officiating was pretty poor on both sides, but I thought for the most part went in their favour. We just didn't have it in us. And if we'd gone into this game with a good run behind us, and don't allow our recent record to be distorted by the result against the result in the Europa League, the 3-0 victory against Frankfurt, or the Carabao Cup victory over Nottingham Forest. Do not allow those 8-0 aggregate scorelines for the cup competitions to distort the form of this team. We have been very poor in the Premier League. We've conceded 2 goals before the Old Trafford match in each of our last 4 Premier League games. We do not have the defensive platform that we need in order to be successful. So that bit of conservatism creeping in is sort of inevitable. When you're not playing well, it's difficult to have the confidence, the bravado to go out and control a game and win a game. And ultimately, I think Unai Emery will reflect on this as an acceptable point. I think it would be an exaggeration to call it a good point, but I think it's an acceptable point. I don't think it's a bad result. Let's put it like that. Is it a great performance? No. But I also think, I think we all agree there wasn't really fluency, there wasn't really coherence, there wasn't really an identity against Aston Villa. I think suddenly expecting it to be there at Old Trafford is kind of unrealistic, right? I mean, I think, even if you're one of Emery's harshest critics and you think there is currently no identity to this team, there's no way you can think 1 week on the training ground can change that, or less than a week as it turns out. It's going to take more time than that, and we just have to accept that. We just have to accept that if we want this team to have an identity, it is going to take a bit more time, whatever you may think. And maybe Unai Emery will never achieve that, but he's not going to achieve it today, he's not going to achieve it tomorrow, he's probably not going to achieve it by Thursday's game or Sunday's game. It's a process that's going to take weeks and months. Some people have the patience for that, some people don't. I understand both points of view, but that is the situation that we're in. Mesut Ozil, I'm going to try and not talk about it really, because it's just been done to death. I do understand people's frustrations. They think he could have offered something in the squad in the 18. I don't think we can really argue with that, a player of that quality. Equally, I think there must be just cause for Unai Emery to feel that he should leave him out. And ultimately, I think, again, it's nothing new. We know Unai Emery doesn't really fancy Mesut Ozil. we equally know he'll probably play on Thursday. So it's not a cut and dry thing if he's just not involved in the squad, but he picks and chooses the games he'll deploy him in. This was not one of the games in which he saw fit to do so. I wouldn't have started Ozil at Old Trafford, and there wasn't really a point in the game at which I would have felt inclined to bring him on. I know other people feel differently, that's absolutely fine, but every game seems to become about if Ozil's picked, if he's not picked. I find it a little bit tiresome. I think an interesting debate that has sprung up out of this game is around Nicolas Pepe. I think patience is, I'm not going to say wearing thin, but a little bit strained by probably his worst performance in an Arsenal shirt at Old Trafford. He looked out of sorts, really. He didn't make the most of the opportunities that came his way, and I don't think he was helped by the fact that he was outshone by Bukayo Saka. And credit to Unai Emery, he is picking Saka, and I think that is a brave call and a good call. And you can see why he does it, because Saka, I know he's 18, but he copes so well with the demands of senior football. He's so strong in the challenge when he goes shoulder to shoulder with people. You know, we think of him as a left winger. He put 5 tackles in during the course of the game. I think that was the most of any player on the pitch. He's played as a left wing back, I think, in the academy sides and with the England youth sides. He's a guy who can genuinely go both ways. I like that about him. I like it. I see it in Joe Willock as well. And I can see that they are Unai Emery players. So it wouldn't surprise me if he keeps picking Saka. So yeah, big positive for Saka tonight, less so for Pepe. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, well, what a debt we owe him. 7 goals in 7 games this season. Fantastic finish from him after a ridiculous offside flag. Thank goodness the referee didn't blow up. Fortunately, VAR was able to put things right and let the goal stand. A neat pass from Saka, I must say, to play him in. And the finish was just absolutely sublime. Where would we be without him? Again, it doesn't bear thinking about. Guendouzi, look, he has moments of untidiness. I think his touch is loose sometimes in the midfield. He can go to ground too easily, but you cannot fault the work rate, the character, the desire. I love that spirit, and it's clear that he's a big part of the future of this team. Granit Xhaka, I've seen, is coming for a lot of stick today for ducking out the way of the opening goal from McTominay. I don't think he does. I think the shot comes at him. If it doesn't take the nick of Socrates, he's heading it plain like that. Now, listen, people will say, go for it with your face, block it with your face, block it with your forehead. I defy anybody to see a ball hit them at that pace and not try to use this part of their head. I defy them. And, he would clean have got it, I think, if it hadn't taken that nick of Socrates. Even when it does take the nick of Socrates, he still tries to get his head in the way. As far as I can see, he's not ducking out of anything. There were elements of his game to complain about tonight. He should have been booked multiple times. The way he was chasing back in the build-up to the goal was, a great example of when he's sort of caught off the pace, can't keep pace with runners from midfield. All that is fair enough. I don't think he ducked out the way of the ball. I don't think he's a cowardly player. I think he tries to take responsibility. But I just think the athleticism, the pace of the Premier League midfield is not particularly suited to him, and we see that exposed too regularly. Callum Chambers, fair play, booked early on against Daniel James. Thought he was in big trouble. Managed the game pretty well from that point on. Hard to see him coming out of the Premier League team, given the way he's playing at the moment. And Bernd Leno, bit of credit to him for a big save from a free kick late on, which kept the score at 1-1. Look, it is not the result we wanted, but thank God it wasn't the result we dreaded. And in terms of going on the road and being better, being more robust, I think there were some building blocks there. I think we were better at the back. Let me have a look at the stats. I saw the XG for the game. We actually had the superior XG to United. We probably should have, I think it was, ours was 2.1 or something like that. Theirs was something like 1.1. They had 16 shots, 4 on target. I would venture that not too many of those were great opportunities. They did miss a fantastic chance from a corner. We looked vulnerable on set pieces. But yeah, look, the ridiculous playing out from the back was improved. I thought David Luiz had one of his better games. Kolasinac, the sooner he gets replaced by Tierney, the better. So yeah, look, it wasn't the result or the performance that we wanted. It's a result that I can absolutely live with. And something I'll touch on now is quickly. Arsenal miss Alexandre Lacazette in this team. We're talking about Pepe not performing. We're talking about, do we need a link between midfield and attack? I really think at times last season he was that guy. Now what raises an interesting question is how you incorporate him with Pepe, with an Aubameyang, is that going to be possible? I don't know. I just feel like as an out ball, we miss him. We do miss him at the moment. I'm going to leave it there, get this up online, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. It's the Arsecast Extra tomorrow. Tune into that. We're recording early tomorrow morning. And I got a very interesting piece up on The Athletic tomorrow, which is kind of talking about how, you know, both United and Arsenal have got their problems on the pitch. Teams are in a bit of a mess. But when you look at what's happening behind the scenes, United fans are furious with Ed Woodward. He still hasn't appointed a technical director. Arsenal do have that model in place. And it's a bit of an inside look at how that model came about, the various individuals involved, and the team that Arsenal have built behind their team. Worth a read if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, they've got the deal on at the moment. I think it's 40%, 30%. Check it out. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching as always. Really appreciate it. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.